how to change your life immediately. So we're talking about today. And again, here at Life in Your Terms, we make videos like this so you can do exactly that. You can live a life on your terms. How to change your life immediately. Now, opinions are gonna differ on this. This is just a strategy that I have found that's worked and what we actually do specifically here at Life in Your Terms. So with that, you gotta stabilize, visualize, strategize, and execute. So stabilization. First, you need to identify the problem. What habits help you? What habits hurt you? What are you telling yourself about this problem? Look at those things. You need to figure out what is the problem you want to change. You need to stabilize, and you kind of need to gather where you're at. And you need to realize it may take time to change your life. It may not be the snap of your fingers you can change your life, but you can identify exactly what behaviors and what actions are hindering you and are preventing you from changing your life right away, and then your next steps to change your life. And what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you during your stabilization phase to talk with someone. Because when you talk to someone, it's gonna increase your accountability and it's gonna give you a different perspective. The way I like to see it, I think of it or call it kind of the best friend rule. So when we're talking to ourselves, we tend to be really harsh on ourselves. So if you can get someone, preferably someone very close to you or a coach or someone who does this regularly, they can kind of talk to you like you're your best friend. Because think about, what would you tell your best friend if you were in the same situation you were right now? I guarantee you, you'd be a lot less harsh than you are on yourself than you are on them. You'd be a lot more gentle talking to someone else. So you need to treat yourself with the same kind of kindness that you treat your best friend with about the problem. You'd still hold them accountable. You'd still expect them to change, but you'd approach it completely differently than you talk to yourself. So first, stabilize. Gather where you're at. Figure out where you want to go. That moves us to the next step of visualization. What do you want to change, and how does that look? My favorite question to ask my clients and ask myself, what does amazing look like 12 months from now? That question can really lay out, okay, what do I want to change? And with that, some areas you may want to look at changing is areas in the balance wheel. So check out the balance wheel in the description below. We're not only going to talk about the professional side of things, but we're going to dive into relationships, health, resources, each of those containing 3 smaller categories. And what I would encourage you to do, a good visualization strategy, is actually to just go around the balance wheel. Think of one thing. Think of one thing you want to change. And that can help you visualize, what does your life look like? What does amazing look like 12 months from now? That can be very helpful. That moves us to the next step, strategy. What habits do you need to make this change? And write them down. I want to encourage you throughout this whole process, if you want to change your life, write it down. With that, when you identify exactly the behaviors that you need to do to change this, you need to then look at the flip side, what challenges will come up throughout this. If you want to lose 50 pounds, you're going to write down, I want to go to the gym 5 days a week and I want to spend an hour there. I'm going to go to the gym at this time and I'm going to do these exercises. You're going to have all that written out, a good plan. And then after you have your plan, I would then encourage you to go on the flip side and actually think of a challenge for every piece of that plan. So one challenge with fitness could be diet. Then it's gonna be getting up in the morning, getting all my clothes ready, having enough time, driving to the gym, going at a time when the gym isn't crazy busy so it makes me enjoy it more, not forgetting my headphones so I enjoy it. There's plenty of challenges and roadblocks along the way that could prevent you from making that change you want. And it could be anything. It could be something as simple as reading 15 minutes a day. You may forget to read. It may not be very prominent to you. You might not have books to read. There's a bunch of challenges that'll come up, but then you can then reverse engineer ways to overcome those challenges before they even happen. So that can be very helpful to, number one, write out what habits you need to have in place, but then go over the challenges that'll come up so that you prevent these challenges from taking you off course and changing your life immediately like you want to do. So with that, with your strategy, you can also think of how am I gonna hold myself accountable? And for me, changing my life immediately, one thing that I really like to do is my thing called the bullet journal. I've talked about that in past weeks. What I do is I write about 3 things down that I want to change this month or keep consistent. And then I go through and every day I write down a bullet if I accomplished it or not. The little black squares are just days that I don't maybe work out or whatever it is because it's a rest day. So that's what I do just to kind of indicate that I didn't fail. Just I actually don't do that on that day. And then again, at the bottom, I have the things I learned that month. So that can be really helpful to hold yourself accountable and a good strategy that I found in my experience. And again, excuse the bad handwriting. That moves us to the 4th step of execute. And that the best way to execute thing or any goals you set out to do is our 4-step strategy we have here at Life on Your Terms. Say it, write it, date it, and send it. So let's go back to that fitness example. If you're gonna lose 50 pounds, you're saying it. You're gonna write it down. You're gonna write down, I'm gonna lose 50 pounds. Then you're gonna date it. By what date is this gonna happen by? And then you're gonna send it or share it with someone. And doing these 4 steps increases accountability so much in my experience and in my clients' experiences. So if you can do those 4 steps, that's gonna help you execute much more. So then you need to go, and when you're trying to look at execute, you need to know how are you gonna track your progress, and that kind of relates to my bullet journal as well. So strategy and execution, you're gonna look at how you're gonna track, how are you gonna hold yourself accountable. I really like those things. And then finally, what specific actions will move the needle for you? What specific actions do you need to do that'll actually help change your life? Not some stupid morning routine that takes 3 hours that's not actually actionable steps. Instead of doing the 3-hour morning routine, just work for 3 hours instead, or do the thing that's gonna change your life for 3 hours, whatever it is. Instead of doing all this stuff that doesn't actually change your life, instead replace that stuff that will change your life. So again, today we talked about how to change your life immediately. Now this is kind of a big overview, you know, it's just a strategy you can apply to almost any problem. You might have a different strategy, but this is what we found that has worked for us at Life on Your Terms, and hopefully it works for you too.